Hey gang, it's Dwayne from ITMasterKey.com, and today we're going to go over a 902 test prep lecture. So after this lecture, you won't have as many butterflies as you would have had going into the testing center. So we're going to go over the objectives, the different questions covered, pass and score, how many questions are going to be in the exam, so on and so forth. So let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into it. So the CompTIA 902 exam is the second part of the A+ exam. We already know that A+ is broken down into two parts. We got 901 and we got 902. So 901 is hardware specific, 902 is software specific. All right, so 901 hardware, 902 software. For the 902 exam, you got 90 minutes to take the exam. The maximum amount of questions you're going to get is going to be 90 questions. Now, none of my students have ever gotten 90 questions. They get right around 80 to 83 questions. The passing score is going to be 700. 700 out of 900. Every CompTIA test is on the scale of 900. So you got to get 700 out of 900 on a 902. You got to get 675 on a 901. Another question that comes up a lot: if I fail 901, can I take 902? You can. You can take 902 and go back and get 901. But you have to actually pass 901 and 902 to be successfully A+ certified. Now, these are things that we have to know how to do no matter what. Not the definition, not the history, but we have to actually be able to know how to do these things. Because on a CompTIA exam, they have things called simulations. So these simulations are going to be the first thing that you see after you finish the user agreement. This is going to be the first thing that you see on the actual exam. The simulations are CompTIA's way of verifying, certifying that you actually know how to perform certain functions. So with the simulations, it's going to be some kind of simulation of some kind of environment. It may be a PC, it may be software, it may be an access point, but it's going to be something where you actually have to do something. It won't just be a question and an answer. You got to turn something off, reconfigure something, so on and so forth. So this list right here is going to be the definitive list of the things that you need in order to do, because the simulations are really important. And when it comes to the score, out of that 700, a big portion of that score comes from simulations. So let's go right into it. First of all, you need to know how to configure email on a cell phone. All right. What ports do I need to have for incoming? What ports do I need to have for outgoing? And how can I secure that? You need to know how to upgrade a Windows 7 machine and keep all user data. You have to know how to stop a program from starting up during startup using msconfig. You have to know what to do if the boot manager is not found. How does fix MBR, master boot record, actually work? Another thing is mobile device email configuration. Whether it's an Android or iPhone, how do we actually set that up? And another thing is Linux commands. Linux commands. We have to know how to actually perform different Linux commands. For example, a Microsoft command is ipconfig. That'll give you your current IP address and your IP configuration. That same command in a Linux box or in a Linux machine would be ifconfig. So we have to know those differences. Last but not least, mapping a network drive and joining a device to a domain. So this is a quick little list of things at a minimum you need to know how to actually do. Not how to regurgitate information that you've memorized, but things that you can actually apply on the job, in the field, and then when you get inside the testing center. Like I said, just so your confidence isn't shot, isn't shaken, the first thing you're going to see is going to be simulations, okay? So this quick little video is actually going to show us what to expect on the actual exam. So it's going to go over a few things that I already covered, but it's going to go over a few new things too, as far as the actual testing site, what kind of questions to expect, so on and so forth, just to get you a lot more prepared than you would be otherwise. So we're going to go ahead and watch this quick little video, and then after that, we're going to go through some questions and some answers and see how you guys feel about that.
Are you wondering what it's like to take a CompTIA exam? This video will show you the different exam features and types of exam questions. The first item you'll see, after the welcome screen, is the Candidate Agreement, also called the NDA. You're allowed up to 28 minutes to review this document. These first couple of screens also show you how much time you have to take the test and the score you need to pass. The following features are available to help you during the test. Navigation arrows allow you to move back and forth from question to question. The timer keeps track of time spent. A calculator is available too. Flag for review allows you to skip a question and come back to it later. Time permitting, any questions you flagged will be presented to you again. The review screen will be your final opportunity to review and make changes. Once you click End Review, you can't return to the question section. CompTIA certification exams are comprised of various question types. Type 1, multiple choice questions. Type 2, multiple response questions. The exam software helps by giving a hint when you pick too many. Type 3, fill in the blank questions. You'll need to type your response. Be careful, capitalization may count. Type 4, drag and drop questions, as seen here. Type 5, questions with exhibits. Click the Exhibit button to view. Some questions may display a graphic or video as an exhibit. You may pause video files as often as you like. Type 6, performance-based questions. Click Simulate to begin. These questions simulate an environment or technology and will require you to perform specific tasks. Performance-based questions are based on multifaceted scenarios. If you feel unsure, you may click the Reset button, but you will lose any prior work when you perform this action. The timer is hidden during these types of questions, but the clock is still ticking. Since the question is simulating a real environment, be aware you may not see any feedback that you completed the task. When you're confident in your answer, click Done. To see an example of a performance-based question, visit certification.comptia.org/pbq. Before you click End Exam, you may be asked to complete a short survey. Afterward, you'll see your score. It's important to note CompTIA may add question types to its exams that you haven't seen in this video. Also, all translated exams provide the same functionality as English language exams. Clicking the Exhibit button on most translated exams will show test questions and options in English. The one exception may be performance-based questions. We hope this video helped you become more familiar with what to expect on a CompTIA certification exam. We wish you the best on your certification exam.
Now that we got finished with the actual video showing us, okay, these are the type of questions we're going to see. This is what we're going to do before, during, and after the exam. Let's go ahead and go through some questions and answers just to get you guys better acclimated to maybe the way the questions are set up and the way your thought process needs to be. I've said it 1,000 times and I'll say it 1,000 more. The main purpose, the main emphasis on the 902 is going to be software troubleshooting. Pretty much every CompTIA test you take, the emphasis is going to be troubleshooting, but it's just going to be a different area. 901, hardware troubleshooting. Software is going to be on 902, so the main focus on that is going to be software troubleshooting. So let's go through this and see what your thought process is. Which of the following features of a mobile device operates the touch screen? Is it the gyroscope, the digitizer, the accelerometer, or geo-tracking? What do we think? Easy. Perfect. The only thing that makes sense is the digitizer. Good. Next up. Which of the following prevention methods is considered to be digital security? Another thing is you want to make sure that you understand what the question is asking. All right, so sort of small little hints, small things that we have to pay attention to make it easier to actually figure out what the right answer is. So what do we think the right answer is? All right, very good. Firewalls. Keyword in this whole sentence or question is digital. An RFID badge is physical. A man trap is physical. Biometrics, physical. ID badge is physical. Out of all those examples, out of all those options, the only thing that's actually digital is a firewall. Next up, Joe, an end user, reports that the PC he uses periodically logs off his user account and displays a message that updates are being installed. Which of the following is most likely the cause of this issue? All right, so this is a scenario-based question. What do we think the answer is? So long story short, it logs them off from time to time and it says, hey, updates are being installed. What most likely is the cause of this? Perfect, easy. Automatic Windows updates is enabled. So when you got automatic Windows updates enabled, it'll say, hey, we're updating. Now, a lot of times it'll give you a warning, maybe 3 or 4 times, and then eventually, if it's a critical update, it'll just automatically update it for you. But a lot of times it'll still ask, hey, we need to update some stuff. Can we do it? And you can say yes or no, and you can postpone it for a couple hours or until the next day. Here comes Joey again. Joey, a user, says he is unable to use his Android phone after updating the OS. Joe is in a hurry and would like a quick solution that will most likely fix the issue. Which of the following methods can a technician use? So another question, we got to pull out exactly what information is vital and then just get the right answer. Main thing we need to look at this is a quick solution. He wants a quick solution. All right, quick solution. What do we think would be a quick solution that would fix this issue? Easy, simple. Perform a hard reset. Pretty much turn the phone off and turn it back on. Because a lot of times apps are lagging or they're hanging up or they're just doing different stuff. And a lot of times if you reset the phone, close all your apps, it'll fix whatever issues that you had. And the reason that you wouldn't want to initiate a factory reset, for one, it's not a quick solution, and two, factory reset means that it erases everything. It's exactly the way it was when it came from the factory. Like just like when you bought your iPhone or your Android, as soon as you take out the box, that's what factory reset is. It erases all your pictures, all your apps, and all that kind of stuff. A technician has been tasked with limiting the users who can connect to a network printer located centrally within the office environment. Which of the following tools would be the best to utilize to achieve this goal? Now, all of the options we got to choose from are acronyms. 901, 902, there's a lot of acronyms. So while you're studying for the actual exam, whenever you see an acronym, I would suggest that, for one, you figure out what the acronym stands for, 2, what it actually does, and if it breaks, how does that actually affect your system or the users on your network, okay? But it's going to be a lot of acronyms. And if you know what the acronym stands for, it's going to make the test 100 times harder than it has to be honest. So let's go down the list. We got VPN, ACL, RDP, and DLP. So what do we think the answer is? We only want certain people to be able to connect to the printer. Perfect, easy. ACL. ACL stands for Access Control List. So this list limits people who can actually access the printer. So do you see how easy that made the question? If you know what the acronym stands for, it makes the question 10 times easier. A technician has just fixed a user's PC and successfully removed the virus and malware from the machine. Which of the following is the last thing the technician should do? What do we think? The last thing a technician should do. And as you can see, the slide has a virus because the little logo got a double tap. So I actually put that in there so you guys would actually be able to see how no, I just forgot. I just forgot to put the delete the other logo. But anyway, malware. What do we think? A technician has just fixed the user's PC and successfully removed the virus and malware from the machine. What's the last thing you should do? Or the last thing you should do. Another thing that's going to be on the test is the CompTIA troubleshooting steps. All right, so that's going to be a big thing on 901, big thing on 902, big thing on Network Plus, big thing on Server Plus, big thing on Security Plus. Any CompTIA test, they're going to have troubleshooting steps. Now, what's the last thing you should do? Easy. So you can educate the user on how to use the internet safely, so they won't have to, or so they won't get a virus again, and so you won't have to come back and fix whatever issue they had. All right, so educate the user. Hey, stay off of this site. Hey, make sure that your antivirus is for your PC as well as internet browsing, and just other tips that you can give them. All right, blank memory combines a computer's RAM with temporary space on your hard disk when RAM is running low. Out of those options, what do we think is the best answer? Perfect, good. Virtual memory. So virtual memory actually takes a chunk out of your actual hard drive, and you can use that as additional RAM until you actually buy physical RAM. All right. So if you want to use a gig or some megabytes, which is just a chunk of your actual hard drive used as additional RAM. Which Linux command will list a directory's contents? Out of those options right there. Now, on the actual exam, we said that 902 is software troubleshooting. There's a lot of different operating systems. The three main operating systems, or the only three that's going to be covered on the 902 is going to be Linux, Mac OS, and Microsoft. 95 to 98% of the questions that you get are going to be on Microsoft, and then you get a few Linux questions and a few Mac OS questions. Now, the Linux command questions, that's it. That's the only thing you'll get about Linux, really. It's going to be, what does this Linux command do? Or if I do this in a Microsoft operating system, what would be the equivalent to that command in a Linux box or a Linux machine? Pretty much the only thing we have to worry about is Linux commands on 902. And we all know that the answer is ls. So if you want to list directories, just type ls and it'll list the directories for you. All right, which of the following is a good practice after completing a troubleshooting call at a customer's office? First thing, follow up with a call within a couple of days and make sure everything is going well. Or make copies and passwords you use at the site for future reference. Or document any particularly important people you met for future references. Last but not least, do nothing. Your work is finished for that particular customer. What do we think? So that makes the most sense, gang. Just following up, making sure that everything was okay. So our next question, when dealing with a difficult customer, which of the following is the best way to handle the solution? Do not argue with the customer and or be defensive. Use technical terms to assure customer confidence. Escalate the customer's issue to a supervisor, or sympathize with the customer about the issue. Out of those options, what do we think would be the best course of action? Perfect, great. Do not argue with the customer and or be defensive. Now, it probably was a mix in between that and another answer. The other answer you're probably leaning towards was sympathize with the customer about the issue. The reason you don't want to sympathize with the customer about the issue is because you don't want to necessarily agree with whatever they say. You want to empathize, so you want to understand what they're saying, but you want to sympathize with what they say. Hey, you guys suck. You're terrible. You want to be like, yeah, you're right. So just make sure you empathize, but not necessarily sympathize, and never ever argue or get defensive. It's business, never personal. A user has downloaded files with his web browser. Where will they be stored by default in a Windows operating system? Will it go in downloads? Will it go in user desktop downloads? Will it go in users personal folder downloads? Will it go in users personal folder desktop and then downloads? Where will it be stored by default in a Windows operating system? Perfect. If the user's name was Mike, it will go in users, his personal folder, then inside of the downloads folder, inside of his actual users folder. Good. What type of malware appears to perform a desired function, but is actually performing malicious actions behind the scenes? Is it a Trojan horse? Is it a worm? Is it adware? Or is it spam? What do we think? Perfect. It's a Trojan horse. So a Trojan horse is application or software that seems like it's doing something really good, but it's actually doing something bad. For example, you download free antivirus, and that free antivirus actually gives you a virus whenever you scan for viruses. A worm is a type of malware that actually replicates itself. That's its main job. So you download it once, then it's 100 of them, then it's 1,000 of them, then it's 1,000,000 of them if you never stop them. Adware is just additional software that comes with other things. Maybe you download a program and it comes with a toolbar. And we all know what spam is. Spam is unwanted advertisement or stuff that we don't want to see. Next up, an end user receives a call from someone claiming to be from the help desk and asking for her username and password to prevent her email box from being deleted immediately. Which of the following best describes this type of attack? Is it shoulder surfing, man in the middle, social engineering, or ransomware? Out of those options, what would be the best choice? What do we think? Easy. Social engineering. So social engineering is a big word that pretty much means somebody being nosy and just asking, probing information and acting like there's somebody else and just trying to get as much information out you as possible. Shoulder surfing, simply put, you type in your password, typing in your username, and somebody's just looking over your shoulder trying to get that information. Man in the middle is an application or a person being in between two senders and receivers. So I'm sending something to you, and it's actually somebody in the middle actually looking at that information. They can either capture it, manipulate it, and still send it, or they can just capture it and it never gets to you, or they can just look at it, write down all the information, and then it'll still get to you. Ransomware is a type of malware that actually holds information or actually expose information until you actually do whatever the hacker or the application tells you to do. If it tells you, hey, you got to run down the street and scream, I love ice cream, or in reality, if it asks you for money or it asks you to do something that you may not want to do, okay? Next up, a PC technician has been asked to verify certain group policies applied on a workstation. Which of the following commands should be run on said workstation? Okay, what will actually verify that certain policies have been implemented on a workstation? Great. GP result. What does GP stand for? GP stands for group policy result. So it'll actually show you what devices have actually got the group policy applied to them. Then GP update would actually update the group policy. System blank is a feature in Windows that will bring a computer system files to an earlier point in time. Easy. System restore. So out of recovery, time capsule, doesn't make any sense, and virtualization, the best option would be system restore. Easy, easy, easy. Perfect. Which Windows command is the command line counterpart of disk management? Is it format? Is it check disk? Is it disk part? And is it convert? So we already know that disk management is where we create partitions, where we allocate space, so on and so forth. So instead of doing it in the GUI, which is the graphical user interface, doing it in the command line, what is the command line counterpart of doing it inside the graphical user interface? Perfect. Disk part. Good. So if we want to convert a file system from, let's say, NTFS to FAT32 or from FAT32 to NTFS, that's where we would use a convert command. Format is actually applying a file system to a partition. And then CHCKDSK actually isn't even a command. The real command is CHKDSK. All right, so we got to be careful when we're looking at that type of stuff too. And check this actually checks the hard drive for errors. You are at a customer's workstation to install several software and hardware updates, a process that will take a while and will require several reboots of the computer. What should you do about the password to the user's account? Should you A, require the customer sit with you throughout the process so he or she can type in the password each time you need it? B, ask the user to write down their password for you to use? C, ask the user to change the password temporarily for you to use? Or D, call your supervisor? What do you think you should do? Now this is for testing purposes. What do you think is the most ethical, most positive way, most textbook answer to this question? Now, it's not write down the password for you to use. In real life, to be honest, that's probably what's going to happen. You're like, hey, what's your password? But textbook, according to CompTIA, what you should actually do is temporarily change the password. Temporarily change the password, and then they can change it back once you get finished doing whatever you're doing. That way, it'll safeguard you as well as them. You don't have access to their stuff anymore, so you'll be safe and they'll be safe as well. Which of the following is a risk of implementing a BYOD policy? Now, what does BYOD stand for? BYOD stands for bring your own device. Now, bring your own device is exactly what it means. You bring your laptop, bring your tablet, you bring your cell phone, and use it all on your work network. So what's some risks of implementing BYOD out of these options? Introducing malware onto the network. DHCP may fail due to incompatibility. Different encryption technology. Higher risk of phishing attacks. What is most likely out of these a risk of implementing a BYOD policy? Easy. Introducing malware onto the network. Good. Hey gang, believe it or not, we are completely finished. We're done. You made it. Right after this, what I want you guys to do is actually run through the quiz. It's 10 questions that'll get you better acclimated to critical analysis, figuring out the answers to questions asked. If you like this class, if you like this course, go ahead and head over to itmasterkey.com and take the full 901 course and 902 course. We have courses for Security Plus, courses for Server Plus, courses for Cisco CCENT, and courses for Microsoft fundamental certifications. Any certification that you need, where you want to stop shop. You can tweet us at Master I.T Texas. Follow us on Instagram at I.T_master. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Join our Facebook group and like us on Facebook, and as well as listen to our podcast, which is available on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, anywhere podcasts are found. You can find us on there. We actually have an episode loaded daily. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in class.